Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Today we're bringing you Koinos Talk live via YouTube for the first time. We did a dry one yesterday. Hopefully this will be a better format for the show because Twitter Space was a little bit cumbersome and you couldn't find a Twitter Space after it was shown. So this is the first show we're doing again on YouTube, and I want to do a brief introduction for my co-host Luke and I. Luke, why don't you do a brief introduction for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Luke Willis, and I'm the guy who runs thecoinpress.com. So if you've seen the Coin Press podcast or the daily newsletter that I send out, that's me. I'm also a mod on the Koinos Discord and have been around since last year. Yeah, just having a good time. So Kui and I have been working together off and on for quite a while now, but recently decided to rally together and build Burncoin, which has been a lot of fun, and a couple more projects in the pipeline.
Absolutely. And my name is Kui. I've basically followed blockchain since 2016 and Koinos since the start, and met Luke here on Koinos community, and we decided to work on several things together, including previous episodes with Koinos Talk on Twitter, and we've done Burn Coin together, and there's a couple other projects in the pipeline. But so this show, we're leading up to what is called a Snapshot event in a couple of days, October 31st to be exact. And that Snapshot event is something we're going to go over here. We want to do the show 3 times this week and continue doing it up until the Snapshot. And after that, we'll kind of back off and try to do it maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, depending on how much new information is out there. And we're also going to have some guests on the show too. So if you follow the show, this week and next, we're going to have some guests on the show. And I think you guys are going to have a really good time watching it. But to start, I think there are still people on the sidelines who have heard about Koinos. They haven't actually purchased any tokens yet. They haven't been able to do the research. There's a lot of data out there in video, text. There's also a lot of emails from Coin Press talking about Koinos. And let's try to start off with a brief overview for the people who are new to the token. So Luke, why don't you kind of give us a kind of high level overview about what exactly is Koinos? What would it be and how would you explain to someone in an elevator?
Yeah, so Koinos is a free to use smart contract platform. And so if you're familiar with blockchain, smart contracts should come as no surprise, basically pulling from all the great work done by Ethereum and other blockchains that have come after it. But it's truly a general purpose blockchain, and it is decentralized. So you've probably heard of some other projects in the crypto space that are free to use ostensibly and have some features that are free to use, like token transfers and that sort of thing. But even those types of transactions have a cost, right? There's a real burden on the network that comes from these types of transactions. And for most of these platforms, they don't have free to use smart contracts, because a smart contract is this general thing. It can be any code that anyone uploads. So to have a permissionless, decentralized, open network that has free to use smart contracts, that's a new innovation. And so the way this is achieved without hurting decentralization and hurting security is through the mana concept. So the coin token is a currency that actually has a baked-in property called mana. So one coin has one mana, and it's not another token, it's just a property of the token. And so when you want to use the network, you spend the mana, and it locks a proportionate amount of coin. So coin is able to stay fungible because when you burn your mana, your coin locks up. So when you're transferring coin around, it's always full of mana. And then because it's locked for a period of time and that slowly regenerates and gets unlocked back into your wallet, you're basically paying for network resources through opportunity cost. So it's not a direct cost like paying gas fees as you'd normally see. It is very much a dynamic locking and unlocking where you're just paying with your time. So that's really the mechanism behind behind Koinos and why it's able to be a free-to-use network. There's a lot of other cool features to this, but that's kind of the main one that we highlight as the biggest impact to end users.
The user experience right now with blockchain, they're really focused on trying to figure out how much it costs to submit a transaction. And I think that's kind of spoils the way people realize applications today, because we're all used to basically just using the application without paying any fees. So I think this will be a big step in helping people to get onboarded to blockchain. That doesn't mean that at mainnet, all of a sudden everything's free, everyone can access everything. You still need to actually hold the coin token in order to access the mana. However, there are certain features on Koinos that will allow you to kind of abstract away from needing to hold tokens, because we have this ability to basically, the term isn't correct, but a lot of people say the word delegate. What we're really doing is you're appointing someone else as the payer of mana. And through that experience, you'll be able to use blockchain applications basically without holding any tokens. And one of the side effects of that is also that you no longer have a security risk, because if your wallet isn't holding any tokens, then if you lose this, private key to it, then technically speaking, you haven't really lost anything. And so that's a really powerful tool. And there's a lot of folds and dimensions to Koinos that we're still trying to basically find the best way to explain to people through applications that are easy to use. But that's a super high level explanation to how Koinos works. But there's also some other stuff that people are really interested in such as tokenomics. So a lot of times people come in and they ask, what's tokenomics of Koinos? As it stands right now, Koinos is existing only as an ERC20 token, which people were able to trade on Uniswap. But that's just a placeholder for mainnet tokens. You will eventually be able to get mainnet tokens if and only if you hold the ERC20 equivalent. After that, Koinos will eventually end up on a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange, and you'll be able to buy it that way. But what's the tokenomics here? How many tokens do we have on ERC20 right now?
Yeah, so there's right around 99.5 million tokens with a cap of 100 million. And so the last tranche of tokens that are out there are just difficult to mine. So because Koinos was launched through a fair mining process, you can only, or at least you could only get the tokens through mining. So the team didn't take a percentage up front. They had to come in and mine just like everybody else. Yep. So it was really a first come, first serve, just like the Bitcoin launch in that perspective. So if you were here, great. Since then, the community, not even the Koinos group, has put the token up on Uniswap. So there is a Uniswap contract out there where you can swap ETH for coin. And that is a really nice feature. So people can actually come in and buy, even though all the tokens are mined. And that wasn't something that was planned. It's just, the power of decentralization. Anybody can come in and create features like that. So tokenomics right now with the ERC20 is that there's a cap, and we're basically there.
You can still actually mine, actually. I think there's somebody right now mining. If you have a lot of CPU power, you could try it if you want to.
Right. The challenge is that because it's expensive to mine, you're probably not going to come out ahead versus just buying on Uniswap, but you're welcome to try and see how it works out for you with your rigs. But yeah, right now with mining and with the Uniswap contract, you can only acquire the token through October 31st. And so at that point, there's going to be something called the snapshot. And that's just basically a picture of the ERC20 token. And then all trades that happen on the Ethereum network after that point are not going to matter, because that image of the data of who holds the token on Ethereum is going to be used in the Genesis data for the Koinos mainnet. And so beyond that snapshot, any activity, any acquiring of tokens is not going to carry over to mainnet. So there's no real reason to buy the ERC20, and you really shouldn't be selling it either because it's worthless.
Right. And that's the main focus of the next 2 weeks. We're coming up to the snapshot. It's on October 31st at midnight Eastern time. So check that accordingly. If you go to coinos.io, actually, there's a countdown timer to when exactly the snapshot will be. So there's a Medium article that Andrew, the CEO of Koinos, put out that says the snapshot may occur beyond that date. but for all intents and purposes, you should be ready for the snapshot on October 31st, midnight New York time, Eastern time.
Right. Yeah, and I assume the team will publish like which block number they ended up taking the snapshot of, so you'll know whether your transactions were included after the fact. But generally speaking, I would recommend just stopping all activity well ahead of that time, so you don't get caught, spending money on tokens that are worthless after the fact, because you won't know until too late.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls if you kind of get mixed up really close to the snapshot time. So if you're, example, a trader, you should stop all trading activities before that time. But if you're a liquidity provider and you have liquidity of the ERC20 coin token on Uniswap or some decentralized exchange that that I don't know of, if you leave your tokens on that exchange as a pool token, then you will not be eligible for the snapshot. And the reason why is that at the snapshot, the tokens that you deposit into liquidity pool belongs to the liquidity pool. So you won't have access to them. So it's very important for you to pull your liquidity away from those pools and put into a wallet that you have the private keys or seed phrases to. In fact, this is another common question we've been seeing in the Telegram channels. What do I need to do to qualify for the snapshot? Luke, you want to try to answer that one?
Yeah, so the main thing is making sure your tokens are on the Ethereum network. There were a few that I believe got transferred over to the Binance network.
Yeah, very small number of people. If you're in that case, make the transfer happen now or contact someone in Telegram. We'll try to help you out.
Yeah, it needs to come over to the Ethereum network ahead of mainnet. You should know if you did buy on Binance, but just good to double check. So once you're on Ethereum, you need your tokens to be in a self-custody wallet. So the ERC20 isn't listed on a centralized exchange, so this shouldn't really apply to anybody if I understand the situation correctly. But the wallet that you hold it in, you need to have the seed phrase and the private key yourself. That shouldn't belong to anybody else. Your key is your coin, because you're going to need that so you can sign a message to claim your mainnet tokens. So really, if you have the keys and you're on the Ethereum network and you pull your tokens out of any liquidity contracts or anywhere else it might be, so they're actually in your wallet, then you're good to go for the snapshot. So you can, if you owned your tokens before, I don't remember when the V4 snapshot was, but you can actually verify that the snapshot works for you on testnet right now. But that's using a snapshot that happened before the V4 testnet launched. So so you can try it out if you've owned your tokens for a while. But yeah, it's a pretty standard. You just sign a message and send it to the new Koinos mainnet to prove that you are the one who holds that wallet, and it will mint the mainnet coin for you to the wallet of your choice.
There's still some questions about the claiming, the snapshot, the security behind it. I think we'll probably do another show where we'll run through, do a dry run, because I have an old account with a little bit of coin in it that I can show people how to run through it on the claim site. You can actually go to coinos.io right now, and below the countdown timer, there's a little claim site, and it's a hot link to the claiming website that was created by Julian, one of the community developers. And through that claim site, you'll be able to use MetaMask or MyEther wallet along with Condor, which is the Koinos. I would say it's native, but it's a developed wallet that has a GUI interface, a graphic user interface, so you don't have to punch through the command lines. But with those two things, you'll be able to claim your tokens in a secure way and get your tokens on mainnet. And at the same time, you don't have to claim your tokens immediately when mainnet comes out. For some people, they want to have the security of a hardware wallet, which means that if you don't claim your tokens, then your tokens remain on Ethereum and you use your ledger or any of those hardware wallets, and you're still safe. There's no time limit to when you actually claim your tokens. There is a time limit to being included in the snapshot, though. So if you're on the sidelines, you have until October 31st to basically buy your tokens.
Right. Yeah, and if you're if you need to buy ETH to do a swap, buying it through a centralized exchange often can take like 10 days to get that transferred over to a self-custody wallet.
Right.
So if you're considering buying some ETH to do a swap, you pretty much need to be doing that right now. So um, not financial advice, do your own research, obviously. But if you are looking to buy and have made that decision yourself, then now's a good time to act.
Definitely not financial advice. Coming to mind though, just to put this out there, I know there are a few people who are buying coin off exchange called Bilaxi, I believe it is. Bilaxi is I think it's an exchange where the tokens are coming from a single source. I don't know anybody who's actually purchased off of it, but we do have quite a few people in the community who know about it. So if you purchase your tokens off Bilaxi, then you should take your tokens out and put it into an Ethereum wallet. We just got a comment here. It'll pop up on the screen right here. Rob Hendricks asks, what's the best place to get ERC20 tokens for coin right now?
Yeah. So the place to get them is through Uniswap right now. So you can also do like a peer-to-peer over-the-counter deal if you want to come into Telegram or Discord and ask for help with a larger buy. But yeah, the official, unofficial way to get tokens is through Uniswap. So we will share the link to the Etherscan with the coin contract. So that you have the address, and then you can use that in Uniswap to swap ETH for that token.
Apparently, just punch that address out right now. Boom, show that guy. So this is the Etherscan wallet address. It ends at 9FC. And this will basically bring you to the Etherscan page. And you can take this address, punch it into Uniswap, and you'll get the official place, or not the official, but the best place to get coin. There is a version 2 Uniswap and a version 3 Uniswap. If you're buying it, the majority of the volume is on version 3.
Yep.
All right. So let's I don't want to keep the show too long because it is recorded, and I want people to be able to watch this. So we're going to go on for another 15 minutes. But let's just talk about what's going on in the Koinos world right now. We have the Snapshot date coming up. But we also have several projects that people have already created, and including a new one that just got announced yesterday. We have Julian's claim site, which actually, let me just get that address out there right now for you guys too. Where is it? So if you want to try the claim site, here it is. I just punched it into the comments in the show. Thank you, Julian, for creating this, and thank you for creating Condor Wallet. Also, if you want to sponsor him, on that link on the bottom, there's a GitHub sponsor link. He builds a lot of great things for the community, including Koilib, which is basically the Web3 or the ethers.js of the Koinos world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure just about every other project we're going to mention is using Koilib. So Julian's a very key member of the development community. So really glad to have him around. The claim app is great. Definitely recommend trying it out. Just a reminder that is using older data. So if you acquired your coin more recently, it may not come through on that claim app. So just be aware of that.
Absolutely.
And then Queen mentioned Condor Wallet, which is the wallet that's been built by Julian. It's a user interface that you can pull up in your browser, in any Chromium browser, and you'll be able to interact with it similar to how you use MetaMask or Trust Wallet or any of these others. So that is a good resource if you want to be using the web app versions. At launch, the official wallet is a CLI, which command line interface, if you're not familiar. So if you are a little bit more technical and want to use the Koinos group built wallet, you can use Koinos CLI. And you can do all the same things as you can with Condor, plus additional features. It's just a little bit harder ramp if you're not familiar with command line. So once you've decided which kind of wallet you want to use to launch with mainnet, you need to claim your tokens, and then it's really just a matter of using dapps. And the one that Kui and I built, which I mentioned at the beginning, is burncoin.com. And this is a Koinos burn pool. So if you're familiar with mining pools or staking pools from other blockchains, Koinos uses proof of burn as its consensus mechanism. And so a burn pool is basically just a staking pool with proof of burn on the back end. So what's actually happening is when you deposit your coin, we handle all the proof of burn shenanigans. So we burn your coin for another token that the Koinos network issues called VHP, or virtual hash power. And this represents kind of a proof of work type economics model where you're spending resources to get hash power. So you're spending real money on computers with like Bitcoin, and then you're running those computers and paying for electricity to produce blocks and get rewarded for that. So with proof of burn, we're burning your coin under the hood of Burncoin for VHP, producing blocks and earning rewards through that. So when you deposit your coin or your VHP, if you're going to manage that side of it yourself, you're able to reap shared rewards of the coin that's returned. So if I hope that makes sense. Basically, it's just a wrapper around proof of burn, and you can definitely run your own node. The Koinos group has done a great job of making it very accessible if you're even slightly technical. It runs in Docker containers, and there's a couple different commands to get it set up on the command line. But once you have your node running, you're pretty much fully in profit. So unless you're going to be paying for hardware to run a node, you might even have a computer lying around or your daily driver that you could use to run a Koinos node and reap rewards through proof of burn. So yeah, however you want to do it. You can use a pool, you can do it yourself. Take your choice there.
The pool is really meant to make it easy for you, easier as if it wasn't easy enough to run your own node just by not having to deal with management of it. On top of that, there's actually a community developer. I think he goes by the name of PSI Identity.
Yeah.
What he's created is a even easier way to deploy a node. He's got an application out for people who are using Mac right now, where it's a one-click setup basically. You don't have to use command line. So I truly think that it's going to be the easiest node to run out of all the blockchains out there, because I have tried to run Ethereum nodes. I've tried to run other a couple of the blockchain nodes. They're not super easy. Koinos is actually really easy, and I'm not a guy who has a computer background.
Right. Yeah, so we danced around tokenomics at the beginning, and I'm torn in two directions because we danced past tokenomics, and then there's still more dapps to talk about of what people are building. But tokenomics, just so since we're already talking about proof of burn, once we move to mainnet and get away from the ERC20 token, coin is an inflationary asset, and that new coin is going to be created every year and with every block. And it's currently set to 2% annual inflation, and that will that can be adjusted through governance proposals, but the current at launch it's going to be 2%. So under ideal conditions, people participating will get 4% returns because half of the network will be burnt. But we'll see if it's if it's higher or lower, and there may be a proposal pretty quickly. We may see inflation rate go up or down to incentivize or disincentivize participation. So we'll see. So yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a mention. When it comes to tokens on mainnet launch, the 2% inflation is expansion of the total supply. And if the tokens aren't claimed, if the tokens that are claimed represent the actual tokens out there, otherwise anything else exists as kind of in the state of blockchain, but not as tokens. It's called the genesis. So if, for example, on mainnet launch, whenever that is, if you have, say, 10 million tokens claimed, then that's going to be how many tokens are applied to that 2% expansion of the token supply. And so when Lucas mentioned the 4% number and why it's 50% of the token burn, it's because you have to secure the network with at least 50% of these tokens out there. Otherwise, you're susceptible to a 50% attack or 51% attack. So if we launch mainnet with 10 million tokens, then it's 2% of 10 million tokens. And the number of people who are chasing after that is how you determine the APY for the individual people. So if you have 10 million tokens, we expect at least 5 million tokens to be used for mining, and out of those 5 million tokens, we have 2% of that, which I think it's to 100,000, something like that.
Something like that. So the important thing to take away, though, is that regardless of how many tokens are claimed, your personal rate of return, if you're participating, is based on what's been claimed. So while fewer tokens will be created if we don't have 100% claimed up front, it will still be, 2% or 4% returns or whatever it is, depending on how much gets burnt. It's really beyond that. The people who aren't participating in proof of burn will be diluted less if there's not much claiming. So.
All right, so let's. I'm pretty sure we can get more into this. If you have any questions out there, you're watching this video, whether it's live or not live, feel free, join the Telegram or put a comment out there. And based on what's the most hottest thing that people want to talk about, we'll probably try to run a show around it. But we do have plans to talk more closely and more in detail about the claim, as well as some other things going on, and possibly some guests. But is there anything else you want to add before we want to go down the list of some other projects that are going on right now?
Let's get some links to the Telegram and Discord in the chat here for anybody watching this after the fact.
All right.
But yeah, other than that, let's jump into more dapps. So there's a couple different block explorers that have been developed. So similar to Etherscan, if you're familiar with that for Ethereum. For Koinos, we have Koinos Blocks, which has been developed by Engrave, and then Koinos Explorer, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's Ideralang built that one.
Koinos Explorer, yep.
Yeah, okay. And then, so you have options and they have different features. So personally, I kind of go back and forth between them when I'm looking for specific information. I find one easier for certain things. But yeah, so different block explorers you can use. There's also a DEX that's been built and continuing to add features. That's built by Daniel von Luton and Ideralang again. So they're working together on CoinDX. That's what it's called. Yeah. So the DEX there is pretty similar to like Uniswap v2 contracts. So if you're familiar with using Uniswap, which you probably are if you've bought coin tokens, that it's a really similar setup to that. So if you're interested in being a liquidity provider for, say, coin and VHP on mainnet, that's going to be an option. Or if you want to set up liquidity for other tokens or create your own tokens, CoinDX is there for you. So yeah, CoinDX. We talked about the block explorers. What else is there?
Well, I got a tweet yesterday about a new mixer. It's a spinoff of Tornado Cash.
That's right.
It's called Spillways Mixer. Something I haven't heard of yet, but they came out with a tweet yesterday. We're getting Tornado Cash or Spillway Cash coming soon to Koinos. So it just kind of helps along with the decentralization of tokens. So we have that. Do you know if the developers are in our Telegram group? It'd be great to get them on here because I just haven't. I didn't hear about them until yesterday, actually.
Of Spillways, I remember seeing somebody from Spillways come into Telegram asking for who to contact, but I haven't talked with them personally, so I don't know.
We'll dig into that, and maybe we can get them on board because I don't know too much about Tornado Cash. Right. And then there's some discussion about this project called Constellation with the United States Air Force. I don't know too much about that one, but if you have Telegram channels to talk about that, do you know anything about it?
That one's interesting. I don't believe that's going to be a dApp on Koinos mainnet. No. I believe that is a contract, or maybe not a contract. I don't know what's official and what isn't. All we have is a video from the Constellation community talking about their project, where they said they have an engagement with the Koinos group to set up something with smart contracts in the United States Air Force ops stack. So there's something there where they're probably going to be using a private version of the Koinos blockchain, spinning up a new blockchain similar to Koinos mainnet, but private and maintained within that space. So pretty cool that Koinos is being used in that capacity. But yeah, interesting stuff over there. Not something we'll see.
And then we talked about Burn Coin, but we also have some other stuff going on. We've talked a lot about the Koinos Aegis protocol as well, which is similar to the ENS system that's on Ethereum. So working kind of through that. We'll have a lot more to discuss about that coming soon. But basically, imagine human readable names instead of really long hexadecimal letters and numbers on an address.
Very similar to ENS if you have a .eth name. Couple differences that we're looking at making, but yeah, generally the same concept there.
And there's also mono delegations. If you're in the Discord channel, Roman, who's the developer of the assembly script SDK for Koinos, he basically has kind of a discussion going on about what's the best way to delegate mana. One of the interesting things about this is just that this is a brand new concept. I mean, gas has been around for a while. Token delegations are sort of new. They existed in the prior project that Koinos Group was involved in. They were the prime developers for Steam, the Steam blockchain, which had token delegations for Steam power. But bringing smart contracts onto it kind of changes the game a little bit. So there's many ways you can get mono delegations out there. And Roman's working on or the discussions are going on for a peer-to-peer style model. We've been talking about several different models as well. The reality is that we're kind of frontiersmen in all of this, right? And not one single solution is correct. And it's going to be an open discussion, and eventually the users get to select what the best one is. And I'm really looking forward to mainnet launch to see how people tend to use these systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see exploration of a lot of different concepts. We've thrown around a few internally, just coming up with different ideas for how to get mana in the hands of users who don't hold coin, because that's really like what Koinos is about, right? If we're talking about building dapps and getting them in front of the majority of people in the world, the majority of people don't hold tokens. They don't even understand what a blockchain is, but that doesn't mean that they can't benefit from decentralization. So within this ecosystem of Koinos, the people who hold coin now will be able to allocate their resources to their own personal use or giving it away to dapps to use for their customers. So you can still hold your coin and, you know, see the value go up over time, but it has this property of mana that is it locks your tokens for a period of time. So if you're willing to sacrifice some liquidity, you can actually use or give away or sell some network resource access. So we'll see a lot of different options, I'm sure, arise over time. You know, peer-to-peer resource sales, something with free to use delegations and decentralized contracts and that kind of thing. Just straight up, you can upload a contract yourself and let your friends use all your mana. Yeah, there's any number of ways that you can do it. So I'm sure we'll see some very interesting options arise.
Absolutely. We've gone, Luke and I, sometimes we talk about different dimensions about Koinos because there's certain aspects to it that just doesn't exist in existing blockchain systems. And so in order to kind of re-gear your mind to think about how Koinos works, it's simple in the front end, but there's so many things going on in the back end and different ways you can express it. And I think we're going to lead to many exciting different decentralized applications in the very near future. With that said, I think we'll end the show now, and then we'll announce the next date for the show. In total, I plan on having 6 shows in the next 2 weeks, and then backing that out after Snapshot date. And hopefully you guys kind of join in for the next ones. We'll have other guests involved. This is recorded, so you can share the links with your friends and have them understand a little bit about Koinos. And don't forget the Snapshot date, October 31st. At midnight Eastern time in the United States in New York, East Coast time. And check out coinos.io for a countdown timer. If you're interested in buying tokens, you should buy them now to be included into the snapshot. Be aware of how much time it takes for you to transfer from your fiat to get Ethereum through some type of fiat on-ramp like Coinbase or Binance. And that's how you're going to get included into the snapshot.
That's right. Yeah. So if you have any questions, put them in chat, leave them as a comment, drop it in Telegram or Discord. We are open ears and we'll be around for the next couple of weeks doing these. So we'll get to your question as soon as we can.
Awesome. Great. Thank you guys. Take care. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.